Back to back. Savvy's bringing it in with the Delaynie Maple, my enemy, but my friend. I love her. Welcome to the podcast, SANDCAST. How we doing this fine day?
I'm doing good. Besides the rain, I can't complain. Happy to be here.
Happy to be here. I know it's kind of nice. I feel cozy in here.
It's nice in
here.
It
just felt right to be here today.
I like rainy winter days. I was on the phone with my mom, and it's snowing in Maryland today. And so she goes, "Yeah, I'm just curled up by the fire with the dog reading." I was like, "That sounds awesome." We don't have fireplaces.
I was gonna say a fireplace sounds so nice. We were like curled up by our little space heater today. Like, oh, this is like a nice little fire.
Space heater.
Yeah, I'm just trying to make it work. But fireplace sounds nice. Hot tub sounds nice too.
That's what I've
had a little sauna
about.
action today.
Hit up the sauna.
Yeah.
Sauna ice bath was lovely.
Oh, so nice.
Do you guys do any of that stuff at USC?
Yeah, we have a hot and a cold tub.
Okay.
And then, we have 2 cold tubs and then 1 hot tub, and we do that a bunch, which is super nice and saved me a lot of time.
Because I always feel days after I do the sauna and the cold tub, like when I'm done, I'm like, there's nothing that could bother me today.
Oh no.
Do you do like
so
5 minutes?
out.
5 minutes? How do you what do you normally do?
I do 15 in the sauna and then 5, and then after that I'm pretty cold. So I'll do 30 in the sauna and then 5, and then end on 15 and 5. And I
30 in
That's
the sauna.
A long time.
Yeah, I have a pretty high sauna tolerance, from what I am told.
I don't know if I could sit in a sauna for that long.
We might have some guest podcasters coming in. Hi, Nye.
You guys want to say hi? Hi, cuties.
So we have Try's niece and his daughter Naya in the studio. They did actually Try sent me a video the other day, and they were sitting in these chairs, and Naya goes, "This is the podcast. Lil, tell me about your day on that microphone."
She was on it. You guys want to say hi? I'm sure they can hear the laughing.
I know.
I'm sure they can.
On mic.
Yeah.
This is excellent content.
They're so funny.
It's actually pretty funny because yesterday, after we recorded with Lexi, Gabby, Try's wife, was talking about how they've never had a babysitter. So the 5 minutes that you spent inside was the first babysitting they've ever had. So Delaynie Maple,
easy, they're
professional
fun.
babysitter.
I've been trying to. I'm like, Gabby, try. If you ever need a babysitter, live down the street, love kids, love Naya, and so far, no luck. But wait, you guys want to say hi? This is you guys met Delaney earlier, huh?
We were hanging out in the fort earlier.
Well,
Naya has made an appearance on the podcast on our 5-year anniversary episode.
Did she really?
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Naya was just sitting there drawing, and every 10 minutes. They can definitely hear that.
She's like,
well, I'll bring him inside.
She's so funny.
You guys want to show me your fort? Huh? Can you show me your fort?
Yeah.
Okay, let's go.
It's so wet.
It's all wet.
Savvy
Good job,
would be the
Aunt Sav.
best
Sav with a good
babysitter
save.
ever.
Yeah.
She's so funny. I love her.
It was really funny when me and Delaney, when we told everyone, that's going to get confusing.
I know, you keep saying Delaney, and I'm like, what did I do?
When me and my Delaney announced to everyone that Delaney was pregnant, 2 days later we played the Huntington AVP, and we had about 20 people volunteer to line up as babysitters.
Oh my gosh,
So
that's the
we're
one
taking
nice
down your
thing. I
info.
feel like the beach community is so small that you're going to be able to always have someone that will be able to watch all the time.
And Savvy was like, "We'll watch him anytime," and they live 2 blocks from us.
That's so funny.
All right, let us know.
I feel like Savvy would be the best babysitter ever, too.
Yeah, and especially because me and Evan have been friends for 8 years.
Yeah.
And so it'd be easy.
She's such a crack up.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But you're back at SC now.
I am.
How was your off season?
It was good. It was definitely different. Obviously, we lost 13 people last year.
Yeah.
Out of I think we had 24 last year. So we lost a huge majority of the team. So it was definitely a different fall, but in the same time, it was so much fun. The crew we got in was awesome, or is awesome. They're still there. We have 3 phenomenal transfers, and they're also great people. And then we have 7 freshmen, so we have a really big freshman class, but we love all of them. All of them, you could totally tell, are so mature for their age, and they came in super prepared.
Yeah.
They've been working so hard, and it's been a different experience, but in the same way, it's been so much fun. Like, I've been telling everyone, like, I was really not worried, but like I was scared because I was like, oh, it's gonna be such a different experience.
It's a big shift.
I lost like a lot of like my closest friends. I was just like worried, oh, I'm not gonna know a lot of people. But then within like the second week, I was like, this is gonna be awesome.
Yeah.
So it's been a blast. We had a super fun fall. We played with like nearly almost everybody. Like, everybody switched with each other. So that was really fun because I felt like I was growing in different ways that I haven't. Just like I split blocked with Jenna for a game, and then I was defending, and then it's like you're doing so many different things, which is really nice because I feel like I'm experimenting in different ways that I haven't in the past. So it's been a blast.
Yeah. Well, who is new on the team this year?
So out of our transfers, we have Jenna Johnson from FSU, who she's awesome. Ashlyn Raznick-Pope from LSU. She's a crack up. I love her.
She's awesome.
She's awesome. And Madison Shields from Pepperdine, who is one of the strongest people I've ever seen in my life.
She is a bulldog.
Yeah, she's awesome. And then we have 7 freshmen from all over the country, which is really cool. We only have 2 of them are from California. And the other 5 are from, I think, Washington, Arizona, Texas, Florida, and then maybe 1 from somewhere else, but they're from all over, which is really cool.
The game is getting so spread.
Oh my gosh.
So I did, Tri did a podcast with Carly Khan when he was in Hawaii, and so I transcribed that earlier this morning, and then I double-checked to make sure that she was actually the first AVP winner from Hawaii, and she is, but so the first through 2018, I mean, it was like 95% of the AVP champions who were women were from California.
Wow.
And since then, there's been Montana, South Dakota, Arizona. Well, Betsy won from Arizona, but
Louisiana,
Kristen. And there were, I think, 8 new either states or countries that won in the last 2 years.
Oh my gosh.
And so you can see that, and all of these are pretty young. You know, Haley Harward is from Arizona.
Yeah.
Sponsel, Arizona.
Sponsel's Arizona. Taryn, Tina.
Country.
Yeah. And so you can see that the game is starting to spread. And I think that's a direct effect of the college game.
Oh, absolutely.
Just the training you guys get, and then you come out and you're ready. I mean, shoot, you were what, in high school when you got a 5th?
Yeah, that was super fun.
Oh my gosh.
That was a good experience.
That was badass.
Oh my gosh.
That was really fun.
No kidding.
Yeah.
What was that like for you?
That was, I think we both just went in, I played with Megan Kraft, and we just went in with like super open minds. I don't think we had really any expectations at that point. It was more just like, oh my gosh, we qualified. That's so awesome, because for that one, we qualified through like the point system when there were opens.
Yeah.
So it was like we played in a bunch of the Carlsbad ones because we're both from San Diego, so we were just really close. But then there were some in LA, so it was like the point system. And I think it ended up being the last tournament we played in, we had to win to get that like first place bid, to get a bid into Hermosa. And I didn't know that we needed to win that tournament to get it. So I remember winning, just thinking like, oh, we won an open, like so cool, such a cool experience. And then afterwards we were like, oh my gosh, wait, we got the bid. So I think we were just freaking out because we didn't have to play in the qualifier, which is always an awesome thing. So I think we just went in with like no pressure, just wanted to play our best game if we can and just have a blast. And I mean, that was probably one of the most fun days I've ever had playing volleyball.
No
like
kidding.
We had super fun wins, like 3 great wins that we like won, and then we're like, okay, like it's so cool if we win 2, and then we won 2, and then we were on stadium court, which was like the coolest experience ever. So I mean, Meg is like such an incredible athlete, so it's just always fun playing next to her. So that was like definitely a pivotal moment of like, oh, I could do this, like when I graduate, like this could be like something that's realistic. So I think that's like, that experience has like fueled me wanting to play post-college.
Yeah. Had you thought about what a professional career in volleyball might look like before that?
I mean, yes and no. I think at that point it's like, oh, it's so far in the future, like, which is so weird to think about now that I graduate in a year and a half. Like that feels like I just did that last summer, which is so bizarre. But I think it's just like I was in year 2 of only beach. I'd played it like indoor and beach both. So I think I was like getting into realizing that I'm only playing beach now. So I think I've always like thought about, you know, beach was finally getting bigger. All the AVPs were getting so much bigger. So I think I thought about it, but not into the realm of like, once we got that, you know, we had that experience, it was like, oh, this could be something, it was really cool.
Yeah. Very cool. And you guys, your Torrey Pines High School is ridiculous. Every time I go to, like, did you guys play together?
No, I played
miss?
against them for a year in college because of my 5th year.
Okay.
So I would have missed them in both. But
okay.
Yeah, missed each other by 1 year.
You went to Torrey Pines, right?
Yeah.
And Jaden Whitmarsh went to
Jaden.
Torrey Pines.
Whitmarsh,
yeah.
Megan obviously was there.
Yeah, we have like phenomenal players that play indoor in college too that are insane.
Yeah.
There are some crazy athletes.
And
out
you
there in high
were,
school.
what, the 3-time Torrey Pines player of the year?
2-time.
2-time.
Well, I think just senior. I transferred, so I went to Great Oak my freshman, sophomore year in
Okay.
Temecula, and then I transferred junior, senior year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Well, that high school is a powerhouse.
Yeah, it was awesome.
That's
Definitely
crazy.
led by Brennan Dean. He's one of the best. So,
Yeah. Were you a volleyball player, like, whole life?
Not really. No one in my family ever played volleyball.
Okay.
So I practically tried like every sport until volleyball, just realizing like, okay, I should probably use my height. I could try so many sports. I tried soccer. Like I hated shin guards. I tried like everything. And then I started playing indoor. I want to say in 3rd grade. My best friend still to this day, Marley Preston, she and her mom, well, her mom was her coach, and they were just playing, and they were like, if you ever want to come, just come to a practice. Like, you're more than welcome. So I just showed up one day, and I was like, all right, I'll try. And then from then, I was, like, stuck, and I never played anything else.
Yeah.
Yep, so it's been, I don't know how many years, since 3rd grade.
What year did you stop playing indoor? And then did you guys work with, obviously, Mike? Because when I was there, the beach program was just kind of starting, and I was more of an indoor focus because I was doing both. So when did you guys switch to just beach focus? I mean, you did high school indoor the whole time, but when did you stop playing club
indoor? So I played from whatever August to November, like all of high school. But then I quit club. I played my freshman year, and then I was beach only sophomore.
Just club
junior,
beach,
senior.
yeah.
Which was
That's
really
so
nice.
cool that you had the option to be beach only. That feels like a relatively new thing, but now it's becoming so normalized.
Oh yeah, and I feel like in that moment it was also not that normalized. Like I remember
They
it
were
was
one of the
me-
first ones to
Yeah,
like
it was-
stop playing indoor. I feel like
it was
and
like
just
Brooke
go all
Buckner,
beach.
Brooke Buckner and I were like the two that we both played indoor together, and then we both went beach only. And I remember like it felt kind of weird because everyone else was still playing indoor, and like I knew I probably could have kept playing. And then, I don't know, it felt weird at the time, but like now it's so normalized. Like everybody, you pretty much figure it out like 7th, 8th grade, and then people are in high school, you figure out like what you're doing. So
Would you recommend people to go just straight beach early, or do you feel like your multi-sport background was a big help?
I loved indoor. I thought indoor like taught me so much, and I've always thought like the players that played indoor for a while went into the beach are just way more aggressive players. I feel like they know a lot about like the team. Because you don't really have that huge, like, team component in high school, and then you get thrown into a team sport in college.
Yeah.
So I think for the girls that never experienced that with indoor, it might be, like, a different thing that they weren't, like, usually, like, normalized to.
Yeah.
So I've loved it. I've always thought it really only brought me, like, good things to my game, and also, like, girls that I'm still super close with today. So, I loved indoor. I would totally recommend it, but...
Because beach is such an athletic game.
Oh, yeah.
Where you just have to be so good at so many different things, and a lot of also just weird things that you can't really teach. Just like instinctual reaction plays where you're just like, I don't know why I did that, but I did it and it worked. I feel like playing multiple sports is just so beneficial to everyone.
Yeah, like Lexi Dennerman played soccer. Not recently found that out, but I recently remembered that, and I was like, that makes sense. Like, there's so many components. Like Molly Eberton, who played on our team last year, was a goalie in soccer and like almost played at SC too. Like she was one of the best pole diggers ever, and you're like, oh, it all translates. Like, it's so funny. I know. It's crazy.
Oh, makes sense.
I didn't realize how good of a soccer player Lexi was until before we went on the podcast yesterday. I just like did a little bit of reading of her UCLA bio. She was a finalist for the Florida 6A Soccer Player of the Year.
Yeah, I remember in high school, like she'd post like half soccer, half beach. Like, oh my gosh, she plays both. Because normally you only hear like indoor volleyball and beach. You never really hear like another sport. Beach. So funny.
Yeah, and one other thing that stood out to me about Lexi is that, you know how everyone, like all the colleges, they have the little, like cheesy questions that they ask you for your bio.
Yeah.
It's about, one of them is your volleyball role model. And I don't know if SC does that, but
they do.
But Lexi's was Sarah Sponsel, which I thought was interesting because that's like the first one I've seen that wasn't Misty and Carrie.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, this might be the start of a new generation where now we're looking up to the Sponsels, the Sarah Hugheses.
That's what mine is in my bio.
Who is it?
Sarah Hughes.
Sarah Hughes? Okay, there we go.
Yeah. Makes sense. Yeah.
So did you grow up like watching AVP?
Not necessarily. I think I honestly started probably watching AVP towards like end of middle school.
Okay.
But I think I started, once I went like beach only and started, because I started playing beach like end of 7th grade. So it's basically I started going to wave in 7th grade, and it was after then that I started to play. So I hadn't really even been super experienced to the sand at all until then.
Okay.
So yeah.
And wave, that's becoming a powerhouse.
Oh yeah,
San Diego's
I think
a
they
talent
have like
pipeline.
phenomenal coaches, super awesome girls too.
Yeah.
That I think are just like every time we come home for either winter or summer break, it's like so much fun, and everyone's so like you play with everybody. It's almost like you forget what college you play for a second, and like everyone just wants to be with each other, like connect and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So it's always a blast.
Who has come out of Wave? Because you played at Wave Sav.
I played with
obviously
her and Meg.
Meg,
Jaden.
Jaden.
The Van Winkles,
Van Winkles were kind of doing both.
they drive down and do the trainings. I'm trying to think of, because when I was
Brooke.
Brooke
Buckner,
at
Okay.
she's
Cal.
at Cal. There's a lot of
So
girls like
many.
kind of all over the
Yeah.
place because
Ia Lindahl, she did Wave for a
She
little bit.
did Wave.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm trying to think of who they. Mike Plajek ran a college. He did the college clinics in during COVID a lot, and I would go a lot. So I'm trying to think of who. I mean, there's
Delaney
some.
Carl on my team now, who's a freshman.
Yes.
There.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's so I feel like there's so many now.
Sophie Moore.
Yeah. Sophie Moore,
from
baller.
UCLA.
Okay.
She's gonna be a junior this year.
Sophomore.
Yeah, so like 1 year below you, sophomore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. There's quite a
so
few.
many.
I'm sure I'll think of some
I
as,
know,
as we
it'll
keep
keep
going.
coming.
But,
Yeah, because you think of, I mean, the guys' talent pipeline, San Diego doesn't, I mean, it's Paul Lottman's down there, and that's kind of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But then there's so many of the young women coming up, it's
Oh,
like,
yeah.
another San Diego. There's
Yep,
another wave.
yep.
Another wave.
Yep.
Like, whatever you're doing down there, Mike and Matt Olson, it's working.
Keep rolling. I know.
They have a good little crew going down.
No kidding.
Yeah.
And they have world champs. You guys won
They
the world
do.
champs.
They have a couple.
It was very fun to watch that.
That was a blast. That was like one of the best experience of my life. Like
And-
super cool people we went with. Like I didn't know it was like Adam Hartman. We had like Dylan Zaka. That whole like Florida
Oh, I didn't
crew.
know that they were there.
They were all the guys'
Okay.
side, and obviously they were Florida, so we didn't really
Yeah.
know them. And I've known obviously Meg and Delaynie and Kate for a long time.
Yeah.
So that was like such a fun experience because I didn't know them, like
Yeah.
the guys, and they are like some of the funniest people I've ever met.
Yeah.
And then our coaches, we had Jose, who's obviously
Oh,
phenomenal.
gosh,
We
he's
had
so
Stein,
great.
so funny. We
Oh,
had
and Stein went
yeah, we had
too.
Stein, who I'd
Wow.
never obviously been coached by, so
Yeah.
that was like such a funny experience. But
Yeah.
it was so fun. Like Thailand also is one of the most beautiful places I've ever been
Yeah.
to.
And
but-
that was in Phuket?
yeah.
Phuket? How do you
Mhm.
pronounce
Phuket.
it? Phuket.
Yeah, I
Way
think
off.
is how you say it. But it was like beautiful. And then obviously, I mean, Meg is insane. So always playing next to her
Yeah.
is so fun. So it was so much
I
fun.
went through the list of the teams that you beat. I didn't realize that you guys just smashed Valentina Gottardi, who got an Italian.
Oh
I
yes,
think you beat
they
her in
were
the quarters.
amazing. They had verticals like I'd never seen.
Yeah.
in my life.
She has a huge arm.
Oh yeah, I think that was in the quarters, but
Yeah.
they were phenomenal athletes. I remember watching. We were scouting them beforehand, and I was like, oh shit. I remember me and Meg like they're gonna be really physical. We had to definitely bring our best game. for
Yeah.
that one.
When she got fifth at World Champs.
Yeah.
That's a good
They
player.
were phenomenal.
Wow.
They were very good.
Yeah, she had a great year this
Crazy
year, and
arm.
I didn't realize that. I didn't know where she came from,
Mm-hmm.
and then I was just scrolling through the teams you beat at World Champs. Like, oh, I know that name.
Yeah,
I
she
watched
was.
her play. That's a good win.
It's
Yeah.
crazy. And after the fact, like watching, because now the girl from Ukraine that got third and then actually won U21 the next week is now at TCU too. So it's so funny
Okay.
seeing like
Oh wow.
all those girls from like that tournament are now all coming to the States to play in
Yeah.
college, which is so cool.
Hector does an especially good job
Oh, yeah,
of
he's
getting the
phenomenal.
international recruits.
Are Danny and Tanya still at TCU? Their last name
Mm-hmm. I think they're
Alvarez and
seniors
Moreno.
this
Okay,
year. Yeah.
the Spaniards.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
they're
I was
awesome.
wondering if they're still
They
in college.
had a good year overseas too.
They're in like
Yeah,
they're in
they
the
had a
Elite
great year.
16 qualifier for Doha. They're like in
wow.
there.
I
Like
didn't know
they're yeah.
I think they got either 4th or 5th in Paris.
Oh wow.
I was commentating that one, and they beat someone very good to get to Kelly Chang and Sarah Hughes.
Okay.
And Jordan was like, "You cover college. What do you know about these girls?" I was like, "I know they just beat a couple really good teams. I didn't expect them to."
That's awesome.
Wow.
Yeah, the college game is getting freaking good.
Oh yeah.
really good.
Everybody's getting good. It's
Yeah.
so cool.
Yeah,
Wow.
and you're a junior at SC this year, and a true junior, right?
Yep,
And a
true
red shirt,
junior.
and you don't get a COVID year.
Nope.
You just missed that.
Yep. I
Okay.
was senior coming in, so
Okay.
no COVID year.
So what did you do during your COVID year then? That's
Oh,
kind of a strange one because you
flashback.
graduated high school.
It was super strange.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I remember we were in when it all like started to go down me and Meg were in Guam playing in like a FIVB.
Well, 1 star, right?
Yeah, it was 1 star, and it was like the first time I had traveled to play internationally. It was super fun, and I remember like
this was right before your graduation, huh?
This was in
March.
It was the end, like I want to say like last week of February. It was 2 weeks before.
And you were supposed to graduate in June.
School. Yeah.
Okay. Yep.
And so that was when I first started like really hearing about COVID like affecting like maybe flights home and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, this is kind of freaky. Like it was still, everything was up in the air. And then we came home, and then we went the next weekend to Cincinnati for that it was like an AVP Next, I think.
Yeah.
And then that's when everything was like, oh, I'm going to come home and not have school. We came home, and I think we came home late, and we went like straight to school, and I remember like I left school early just to go home or something, and they were like, oh, you're like 2-week break. And then all of a sudden, that was my last day of high school. It was so weird, and I think about it all the time, like if I went back to high school right now, like my professors, like you never said bye to any of them, or like the people that you sat by that like you weren't even really that close with, but you're like, oh, I'll probably like, I don't know if I'll ever see those people again. It's so weird, but thankfully, like there was a court, it was like me, Meg, Sophie Moore, Mike, and this other family that she now goes to Tulane, but she, they had like a court in their kind of like community. So we would just go every few days and just have like a little small group, because obviously we weren't able to do big groups then. And then we would kind of like every once in a while try and go play. Then it would just be me and Meg when like obviously we were being really careful about COVID at that time. So it was such this weird up in the air, like, do we practice? Do we not? Like, what are we able to do?
Well, because San Diego was so locked down. I remember the beaches were closed, so it was where you felt guilty almost, like training at all.
Oh yeah, it was weird, because sometimes like me and Meg would just go out, or like I'd just go out and like do stuff with my dad, because you're like, you just didn't know. Yeah. And then I was just trying to lift on my own and stuff, which was super weird at the time, like trying to come up with home exercises. Like thinking about it, I forget about it all the time, but that was a very different year. But it was definitely scary knowing that I was going to be going to college though. Yeah. In like August, and I had to like remember. Like I was honestly pretty worried for school, because like once we were done, we did online school, but basically our rule was your grade wasn't allowed to be lowered, and so you kind of just did whatever you did if you needed to get your grade higher. So the school you were doing was very minimal at that point. And so I was like, oh, I got to get like back into my school grind. And then that was that fall, because we weren't technically allowed to be there for like in-person classes. Yeah. So, and we also weren't allowed to be there for volleyball. So we didn't start training until the first day of December. So I didn't have any fall at all my freshman year, which was super bizarre, which many schools weren't able to either. So
what a weird.
I know.
Gosh, what a weird time.
It was such a bizarre time.
What was that experience like? I just remember my freshman year when I got there, and we did like team dinners and all these different things, because like it's like hang out with the freshmen. But as a freshman, what was that experience like when you couldn't really even hang out with anyone? Did you like have a roommate in the dorm? Like,
so we had to get an off-campus like apartment, because there were no on-campus dorms. So I lived with a diver, then I lived with Olivia Bakos, who was on my team, and then a non-athlete named Elsa, which was super fun. We had like a great little apartment, but it was super weird because in the month of December, at that point, the rule was like if we were seen with anybody on the team outside, like even like at lunch, like you were on protocol, like you were fully on like lockdown. Yeah. So it was this weird thing in terms of trying to get to know your teammates, because you couldn't really. And I remember like Joy tried to do a good job of like texting us or just being like, I'm Joy, like, you know, like Sammy was like whatever, because you can't really. I mean, it's so hard to even get to know each other. So that was weird. But then once we were able to actually like go to practices consistently in the spring before season, we obviously had a pretty short time of like trying to get to know each other. But I mean, we all gelled super fast, which was awesome. We had such a really cool team that year. Very special people.
It's one of those ironic things where it's so hard to bond with your teammates, but then when you get an opportunity to do so, because you've all been through some really weird and hard stuff,
absolutely.
It makes it also easier to bond over something, because you immediately have a common obstacle that you're overcoming.
Totally. And we had a lot of new girls that year, too, because we had transfers coming in. We had Julia was coming in, and then obviously all of our freshmen. We just had like a pretty new team, and so it was, I think everybody was just refiguring out, you know, like the team and everything, but once we all were together, we clicked super fast.
Yeah, and that had to have been especially strange for you as a freshman coming in, where you don't know. You're obviously very talented, but you don't know how to assimilate to a new team.
No way.
That has a history of just huge success. How did you navigate that of just kind of introducing yourself?
Yeah, that was a stressful time of not even really having like that fall where you can play those fall tournaments, and like where like the first time I ever put a USC jersey on was my first game, and like that was really stressful. And I mean I lost my first ever volleyball, like my first ever game because I like fully blacked out. I don't remember it. Like I was
nervous.
just so nervous because I was a freshman, obviously playing with a fifth year. Like I was super nervous. So that like experience of January until the end of February was just this weird, like everybody was playing with everybody like every day. We had such a small amount of time to figure out a lineup, to figure out who worked with each other, like who was going to play, who wasn't. Like I was obviously really nervous because I didn't have anything to compare it to.
Yeah.
So I didn't know if what I was doing was good, if it was bad, anything.
Stressful.
But I mean, Gustavo was amazing. Gustavo is like pretty much everybody's second dad. He's super good about just calling, checking in. Like he would always check in on me and make sure I was doing well, because not only were you dealing with like the stress of volleyball, but you were also dealing with the stress of COVID and doing all your online classes, which were obviously a struggle, and just like figuring out college, being away from your family, but basically like being by yourself too, which was such a weird thing to navigate. But like looking back at it, I'm like, oh, that was so weird. But at the same time, I'm almost glad I didn't have a year of normal college and then went into COVID because I had nothing to compare it to.
True.
So I was like, oh, this is cool. I'm on my own. I get to go practice. Like in my eyes, obviously it was not the best situation, but in my eyes I was like, oh, it's this college. Like it was so exciting to me still.
Yeah.
So I'm almost glad I had that situation and I didn't have like a taste of real college.
It just only got better after that.
Like this is so bad because now, I mean, last year was like one of the best years of my life because I was like, oh, this is college. Like I'm able to see my teammates, able to see people, like fully like
have
take
a social
advantage.
life.
Take advantage of an actual playing fall tournaments. Like,
sit in a lecture hall.
Oh my gosh, my first class, I remember I was like, this is so bizarre. I'm in a classroom, like it was so weird. But yeah, it was definitely tough to navigate, but at the same time, like I had Meg was going through the same thing as me. All of our freshmen were going through the same thing. Like I had a group of people that I was able to kind of lean in on and everything.
Who else is in your freshman class?
Right now, it's me, Megan Kraft, Caitlin Cummings, and Olivia Bacon. So it's the four of us.
And then the Norses, are they 1 year older?
They're 1 year older, but they have a COVID year, so technically they're our year of eligibility.
Yeah.
I can never get it straight.
I know.
She's technically like Lexi Denneberg's year. Like that whole class that's seniors right now, they have a fifth year, so they're all kind of the same.
Technically they are all my year.
Yeah.
Which is so weird. But like Devin and all them are like technically juniors.
Yeah. Do you feel gypped?
Like, sometimes I'm like, oh, because everyone's like, oh, what are you going to do for your fifth year? Because everyone kind of forgets. And I'm like, play indoor? I don't know.
Like, I don't
it's like
one.
I'm either graduating or I'm going to go pick another sport and go to the same college. So I don't know.
I think it's funny that it's assumed now, especially in beach volleyball, that everyone's just going to take a fifth year.
Fifth year.
And normally all those people taking fifth year are going somewhere else. So it's like, oh, where are you going to go? Yeah. Like everyone's taking advantage of just going to a different school. Yeah. So it's so funny.
I feel like beach volleyball is just producing the most master's degrees.
Oh my god.
Oh yeah.
And like talk about like the top beach volleyball schools, like some of the most insane universities. And I've always said that, like, I mean, if you want to go to USC, UCLA, Stanford, Berkeley, like all these insane schools, like so cool. Such like insane opportunities for people.
Yeah. What are you studying?
I'm studying communications, and then I minor in sports media.
Okay.
Oh, that's
which
cool.
I love. Yeah, I absolutely love my minor.
Welcome to the podcast, then.
I know. I love it.
Is there anything that you want to do with that aside? I mean, obviously aside from volleyball. But.
Yeah, right now I think I want to go into PR of like, I don't know. I'm trying to navigate right now if I want to do like sports team, agency, or like actual like sports organization. I'm like, the nice thing about the minor, like the classes I take, we have like tons of guest speakers, and they are basically like all across the board of sports. So it's super cool hearing from them all of their different like experiences and how they've navigated internships. Or that's such a hard thing right now is like those players that you play volleyball over the summer, you don't do internships like other people. And so now I'm in this position where I'm like, oh, I'm a junior. Obviously I want to keep playing volleyball, but I also, if I want to do something else, like I need to figure out kind of like what that could be. And so the twins are actually who got me into that minor. My freshman year, I was like, oh, I think I want to minor in something. Wasn't sure. And they were doing sports media. And I was like, oh, I'll do a class. And then I just like fell in love with it. So that's been super fun. Like all of my classes I've been able to do with them. So it's awesome. Really cool.
Yeah. It when I was a journalism major, we had a choice between print, radio, or TV.
Oh, wow.
It was one or the other.
Uh-huh.
And now you have to do all three.
Yeah.
Pretty much. It's just media. You can't. It's like, well, if you want to major in print media, you're not going to last very long.
Yeah, it's just such a different world now. It's crazy.
Yeah, and USC has a great communications and journalism
Yeah,
school.
I love Annenberg. Like, the building itself is, like, one of the most beautiful buildings I've ever seen. And, like, they have this whole room, like, dedicated to all these different podcasts or, like, their own, like, TV show, like, they have in there. It's phenomenal. And, like, the professors I've all had have been, like, incredible, have, like, taught me so much about, like, that's a good thing is I feel like I don't necessarily know what I want to do. And so it's, like, very cool getting to, like, dabble in kind of every realm of communications and sports.
Yeah.
So that's been really cool. And obviously being in LA, it's like you're in
yeah.
heart of all of sports.
Yeah, it's
You know?
when
Which is awesome.
when I was picking between, because I mean the two major sports marketing or sports markets are New York and LA.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, never New York.
Yeah.
Can't do it. It's
I
like,
know.
all right, there's beach volleyball out here. There's
Yeah.
good sports journalism out here.
Exactly.
It was no question.
I know. My brother just moved out to New York City, and I was like, good for you. It could not be me. I'm going to stay here, I think.
Yeah.
So funny.
Did you ever play the New York AVP?
I didn't. I really hope there's one this year because I'd love to
Okay.
go out there and go see him and everything. But I've always wanted to. I've heard it's really cool.
You think there will be
Sports
one
fan.
this year? Why did they stop doing it?
I would heavily bet against it.
Why?
It's so expensive.
Just expensive.
Yeah, I mean the permits for that pier or
Are just a
anywhere.
lot.
in
Because I
New
never
York,
got to do that
And
one
travel
either.
to get there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean I know, and Chicago's pretty expensive as well, and I mean so is Manhattan Beach, but I think New York is.
I bet it's crazy.
Really pricey.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think beach volleyball right now is in a money saving mode.
It's fair. It's fair. What made you fall in love with SC? Like, talk about your recruiting process a little bit and, like, your visit and everything like that.
Totally. I was really young at the time, so I think what I was navigating was more like, where do I feel like home? Like, I don't even know if I really put in, like, what do I want to major in and stuff
Yeah.
like that, because I didn't really know at the time. But I tried to see as many, like, schools as I could, and I was kind of just trying to find a school with a balance of, like, where I would succeed in volleyball, but also where I could succeed in, like, my own social life in my school. And, like, the kind of way I approached all of it was, like, if I was to have a career-ending injury, like, first day of practice, like, where would I be the most happy at? Because I just know, like, who knows what was going to happen. I just wanted to be in, like, an environment where volleyball wasn't the only place that was, like, giving me happiness in college. And I just felt like the second I walked on SC, I just felt like getting to see, like, all the different, obviously, like, education you're getting there, along with this historic volleyball team, and then along with I'm, like, an hour and a half away from home, which was really nice. Obviously, in California, it's one of the most beautiful schools I've ever seen. And I don't know, once I stepped on campus, I just, like, couldn't really imagine myself anywhere else.
Yeah.
And I committed to Anna. It was Anna, and then I don't even know if I think Dane was a volunteer assistant at that point.
You must have been young. When
Yeah,
you
but it
committed
was
then.
I was a freshman. I was 14 at the time, and it was Anna and Allie Lamberson, and then I think Dane was the volunteer assistant.
Okay.
But it's so funny now that it was totally different. I totally remember my junior year when the whole coaching thing changed.
Because
all had
Dane's
no
been there
idea.
the whole time.
Yeah, it's been Dane and Gustavo, and then
Yeah.
our volunteer assistants have been changing.
Yeah.
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 Wow.
Where else did you look?
I looked at UCLA, I looked at Stanford, I went to U of A, which I loved, and then I talked to some other schools just on the phone, but
Yeah.
I never ended up visiting.
Okay. It's so funny for me just growing up in Maryland where we had like two options to go to school really. It was either University of Maryland or you're going to the little school that was basically our high school's 13th grade. And that was it. Those were our options. I applied to 2 schools. And I come out here and so many people are like, yeah, I applied to 20.
Yeah.
I looked at this school. There's just so many options out
So
here.
many
It's
options.
hard
It's
enough
crazy.
to make a decision like
I know.
that. let
I know,
alone
it
get
was
20
like,
great
I
schools.
almost like I look back and I'm like, I can't believe, I'm so glad that they've now like implemented a rule where you can't commit till junior year, just because I feel like at that point, it's like, I didn't even know what I was eating for breakfast that morning, let alone like what I wanted to go to school and like study. So I'm very happy I made the right decision, but it is such like a scary decision to make at that age. And so I'm very glad that they definitely upped the age of when you should commit, which is good, in my opinion.
And what a cool team for you to come in on. And we mentioned you graduated 13 this year, and there's 13 really talented players.
Yeah.
I mean, Julia Scoles won an AVP, Harvard won an AVP, Tina has won back-to-back European Championships, is in the Olympics. The learning curve you had was probably pretty steep in the best way.
Oh yeah, it was phenomenal. I mean, like being a freshman stepping onto that was really nerve-wracking because obviously you're like playing next to some of the most like insane volleyball players I've ever seen. But then I think once I got to know everyone off the court and I realized like how phenomenal they are as people, it made me so much more comfortable because I realized like, okay, they're normal people too, and they are like absolutely amazing people that I still am so glad like I talk to them all the time still now, which is great. But it was something like we had 2 phenomenal coaches, but then you also had 23 coaches as well because you were learning so much from just like whether you were playing next to someone, but also just watching. And like it was such a humbling experience hitting against Tina Gradina and Julia and Meg. I mean, still like all of them every day of practice because I always felt like our hardest competition was practice. Like practices were so competitive. People were like going at it. Like people were yelling. Like Julie and Haley's relationship is always so funny. They're so competitive with each other. And I remember like, especially last year when me and Julie were playing together and then Tina and Haley, those like we'd always play each other at practice all the time. And it was so funny because like you could tell there's a lot of people would always be watching because Julie and Haley just go at it.
Yeah.
But it's a funny go at it, but like Haley will try and
Because they're
like,
literally best friends
they're
too.
best
It's so
friends.
funny.
They're like, they're practically family at this point, but their relationship always has cracked me up because they go at it with each other. And like, I remember whenever we'd play Haley, Julie was like, we're not losing this. We're going all, like, it's almost like, but it was so nice because I put myself in such a mental space of like, this is a real game so much in practice playing against these girls that like once I got to a game I was like, oh, it's just a game, like it's what I've been doing. But they've taught me so much, not only like about volleyball and like mindset, but just like I've learned so much from them off the court. Like Sunny Villalpando, who transferred into the team last year, is like one of the most incredible like people I've ever met. I think she has like an outlook on life that I've never met. So it's like so cool. They were so different, every single one of those seniors last year and my freshman year were such different people that it was so funny because you were able to learn such different things from all of them. But for some reason, we all just gelled so well being so different, which I think is what made us good, is that we didn't have a bunch of the same people. Like, everybody had their own passions, had things that they loved that were different than everyone else, but, like, everybody had the same common goal of beach was your priority, and everyone went all in, which was so awesome.
Yeah. And I think that all those differences are probably why you guys do get along so well.
Yeah.
Like when you get 2 people who are the same on the same team, you're almost competing of who's going to play that role.
Yeah, that's so true. We had everybody in every different role. Like that was the one nice thing too coming into this year of kind of taking in that older role is like I had 13 different captains in my eyes last year that all were different captains in their own way. Because like last year it was Julia, Sammy, and Tina were our 3 captains, and the 3 of them are so different. Like, Sammy was more the girl that was going to give us the information, was like kind of the little line between coaches to team, make sure everyone's on the same page, where Tina was more like the lead by example. This is how you do it. You know, everyone loved to watch Tina. And then Julia was more like, not the stern one, but wanted to make sure, like, okay, this is how we do things, you know, keep everyone in line. Also, Julia, she's, like, 12 at heart. So you have to, it was, like, the perfect balance of making sure people are in line as well as, like, being the lighthearted Julia. So it was cool, like, now coming into this role that I am now, I felt like I was able to learn so much from them in what worked, what didn't work, like, what made us successful. So that's been really cool, trying to implement all those things that they've done into the team that we're on right now.
Yeah. Do you view yourself as a leader of this team now? I mean, because you've accomplished so much. You are, I mean, just a junior, quote unquote, but I feel like experience-wise, you know, you might as well be professional.
You had to grow up kind of fast with COVID and the older team and everything like that. Yeah.
I definitely would see myself as a leader. I think I knew what it took to, like, make a winning team and then how to replicate it with new girls. And so I think I caught on to those habits that all those girls did last year. And so I think I just tried to replicate that and, like, put that into all the new girls' kind of heads this year, and just, like, kind of this is how we do it. I've tried to, you know, guide everyone, and they've been, like, sponges. Like, our freshman class, I've never seen, like, a group of girls grow. Like, thinking about where they were the first day to today is, like, insane. Yeah. I mean, they all have just been, like, so open to wanting to get better, grow, get out of their comfort zone and stuff, which has been awesome. And then let alone, like, our 3 transfers as well have just been, you know, they've also, it's been cool to see, like, what worked on their team, what they're trying to implement with us, and what they also want differently. It's been really cool. I feel like everyone is on, like, that's on our squad this year all had just like the mindset of just wanting to go all in and like are super open to adapting. You know, right now we obviously have no set lineup. Everyone can kind of play with everyone right now, which is really cool. I feel like everyone's super open to playing with whoever, just whatever's going to work for us to win the most, which is really, it's a cool experience. Like definitely not what I've been on the past 2 years. You know, there's been a little bit more of a set, like, okay, I think they'll play together. But this year it's such coin toss, which has been a blast. And then like, I think we have a very special group that everyone's open to that. Like nobody's set on, I only want to be with her, or I only want to be with her, you know, which has been so awesome.
Yeah, it's fun and kind of in writing or creative endeavors, we call it kind of a blue sky period. Yeah. Where you just have anything goes.
Totally.
You just brainstorm whatever. And those were the guy who wrote The Office, BJ Novak. He said they would have a month of it with when they were writing the next season of The Office, where it could be like Jim and Pam get married on the moon.
Yeah.
If it's a terrible idea, it doesn't matter. We're just all ideas go, and it's such a fun phase.
That's awesome.
And that's what me and Tri always do that when we're game planning for like what we want to do with the podcast this year, all the kinds of different stuff. We just come up with all kinds of like 100 ideas. 98 are horrible, and then 2 are like, oh, those will stick. It's just fun to brainstorm stuff.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the phase that you guys are in with SC right now.
Totally.
It's funny to hear, like, from my perspective, I know you so well, and, like, especially the girls that I played against that were, like, my year and stuff, I know everyone so well, but talking to you versus talking to Lexi yesterday, she's telling us about everything, and I'm sitting there listening to her, like, I already know all this information, and talking to you, it's like, there's so many unknowns, like, although I know all these girls, and I, like, you know, Joy Dennis and all these people I played against for so long, it's just... It's funny hearing about your team culture when, like, I have no idea. Like, I think I know people, but, like, you never know the ins and outs of a team unless you're on the team. So it's just kind of fascinating for me.
Totally. We've talked about that a lot lately, too, like, how important it is to keep everything, like, in-house. And, like, that you don't want a lot of people to know what's going on because at the end of the day, like, if you show up to a game and everyone looks normal, even though an injury or something could be happening that nobody knows, like, that's perfect. You don't want anybody else to know until, like, after season. Or whatever. So it's so funny. Like I love like talking to all you guys because like you have no idea what's going on in the like during season. You have no idea how people are or like what's going. You know. So that's always such a funny component.
It is so funny. And I want to touch on like I feel like you're just such a big advocate for like mental health stuff too, and that's something that you've kind of, you know, made present throughout your time in college and maybe even a little bit before. So I kind of want you to touch on that a little bit.
It's always been I feel like a super big passion of mine. I think. Being in athletics, you're kind of dealt with a lot of situations that are really hard to deal with. And it's almost like in athletics, you're kind of supposed to figure it out on your own. And that's kind of how you grow. And I think it takes a toll on a lot of people. And obviously, I'm so happy it's starting to get talked about more. But I feel like there's even so much more that could be talked about. I think, like, whether you're going through an injury and how that affects your mental health, if you're coming in as freshmen, like, we've been trying to help our freshmen a ton because... Obviously, as like I said earlier, like they're all from out of state. They're in like a completely new environment. It's not like they're from Newport Beach and can drive home every weekend. Like they are in a completely new place, and it takes a toll. Like you're in so many new environments. Obviously, like the competition aspect is crazy. Also with beach volleyball, you know everybody, so it's like not only do you want to win, but like you want to beat this girl because you've known her for the past 5 years, or you have history, or like you know it's so much more personal. So I feel like it just. Takes a dive, and I don't know why I know why it's not talked about a lot because it's a scary situation, but I feel like once last year was such a big thing with our team, we talked about everything. Like I talked anything I was struggling with, like I was struggling with an injury last year that I had to keep super in-house, and it was super hard to deal with. Like it was affecting like every day, and so it's almost like you have to just pick people on your team and just like almost just pour your heart out sometimes because like you end up realizing almost half the team's probably going through the same thing. Just nobody wants to talk about it. So I've always just tried to make people comfortable talking. Like that's been something that I've tried to do this year with such a new squad to just like talk about it because I think when people keep it in is when it'll just implode.
Yeah, it's weird because you know if you have tendonitis in your knee, you know how to get it better. Totally. It's just rest and you do a little rehab. But if you're burned out mentally, there's no real recipe.
No.
And everyone's so different that it's such a hard thing to talk about because what works for me isn't going to work for Savvy.
Exactly.
What works for Savvy isn't going to work for you.
Absolutely.
And it's just strange because there's no prescription you can give. It's just like, well, I don't know, drink some food, eat some water, and sleep.
It's such like a gray area because it's like, why don't you focus on your mental health as much as your physical health? Like they're probably equally as important, especially like in a game like beach volleyball that's so mental. It's like I've always said, everyone's good. And the top teams, like anybody can win any day, and it kind of just comes to like who's mentally stable in that game and who can like not get super mental if they shake a ball or if they hit a ball out, and I feel like that's what made our team really good last year is I knew a lot of those girls, like, you could ace them twice and their mentality would be the exact same.
Yeah.
Like, they would be fine, they'd side out and they'd be good. And, like, that's not just, like, athletic mental stability. It's, like, your own mental, like, being confident in yourself.
Yeah, there's, like, two different kinds of, like, mental struggles. It's, like, the actual on-the-court, in-game pressure situation, and then there's, like, the off-the-court, day-to-day struggles. So it's interesting that you bring that up. And I think from my personal experience with just being a super anxious person, and a lot of times you just feel like you're the only one on the entire planet going through it. And the more you're open about it and you talk about it, you either help other people or other people help you. And it's, they say, like, misery loves company. Like, it's kind of one of those things where, like, you hear other people are struggling with the same things. It almost makes you feel better because you're just like, I'm not alone. Because that's one of the scariest things is, like, feeling like you're going through all this stuff alone. And I think, colleges and sports in general have done a lot more in recent years to, like, have, like, team sports psychs or individual sports psychs and stuff like that. So it's getting better for sure. But I just commend you for sticking with that and helping, because just like you said, being on a team, it's so hard. And although you're on a team with 20 or so girls, like, there's still times where you feel very alone and you feel like no one's going through what you're going through. And you can almost guarantee someone else is going through it as long as you guys talk about it. And it's hard for some people to be open, but I think that's just an amazing thing that you're doing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
What are some things that you found have been helpful or that work for you? If you're burned out or whatever it may be.
I've always felt like I have to separate myself from volleyball. Like, I have to separate, like, who I am as a volleyball player, because I've always said, like, if I put my all in, like, everything into volleyball where, like, I identify myself as a volleyball player, like, if I have a bad practice, like, my day's bad.
Yeah.
And, like, I was at that point one time, like, when I was trying to figure out volleyball and everything, like, if I had a bad tournament, like, I had a bad week.
Yeah.
And I realized, like, I can't let that happen, especially, like, if I want to pursue this after college, like, I'm going to have tons of losses. And, like, I can't, that's just not going to work, obviously. So I've just always felt like I needed to have passions off the court. And I've always remembered, like, if I lose a game, I still can go call my family, and I still can go call my boyfriend. I can go call my brother. I can call my friends. Like, I have an outlet that I realize I'm just as much myself off the court as I am on. And I think that's kind of been more my thing. Like, you got to find something that makes you as passionate about volleyball, because at one time in your life, you're going to get to an age where you can't play volleyball anymore. Then it's like, you don't want to be that person that you feel like you just, obviously everyone's going to feel like they lost a chunk of them, but, like, you still want to feel like you have an identity to you. And that's something I've always tried to navigate, just having, like, an outlet of something that I'm able to go to. And, like, that, I feel like that's made me, Julia Scoles is probably someone who's taught me this the most, of just, like, perspective and realizing, like, everything is practically almost bigger than volleyball. Like, your life is so much bigger than volleyball. And at times when you're in college, you feel like this win is
it's your whole life. Yeah.
Like, I have to.
I will never be
especially
happy.
when the duel comes down to your game or something like that.
Gosh,
it's 2-2 and you're playing.
And it's so stressful. And I remember just Julia, like, would approach every game just, oh, I'm so excited to play. Like, this is great. Like, we would be in such stressful situations, and I'd feel no stress from her. And I always asked her, I'm like, why do you feel that way? And she's just like, there's just so much things bigger than volleyball. Like, she's very openly religious, and she just, like, has an outlet that she's so passionate about, and it just makes her feel so much less stressed and have that, mental side. And I feel like that's really what showed me, like, I just need an outlet, something that, like, makes me feel the same way. And so I feel like that's something I've tried to help a lot of girls on our team, too. If anybody's struggling with that, just having something that makes you feel worthy, because sometimes you put that in volleyball, then you have a bad couple days, and you're like, oh,
my life's over.
This is terrible.
My parents are going to disown me because I can't
Absolutely.
pass.
You're like, totally. You, like, go to the darkest thing right away, and you're like, it's just not that deep.
Yeah.
Well, this is why I think it's great, too, that you're doing a minor in sports media, too, because this is just another thing that, and I'm still trying to figure out. We're all still trying to figure out, like, what is our identity off the court? Like, we spend so much time doing this, especially post-college, when, like, you're not on a team, it's all individual. And I've had a lot of people, like, ask me, like, what are your passions outside of volleyball? And I'm like, I mean, I have things that I'm passionate about, but all I do is, like, wake up and, like, think about how to be the best volleyball player. How can I, planning seasons and, what to do with my partner and all these different things. And so I think it's important that you're doing something like that, if you're having a bad day, or just to have some sort of outlet, you have something else that you're passionate about, because it's inevitable. If you continue playing the sport, you're going to have good and bad days, good and bad tournaments, weekends, whatever. Yeah. So I think that's another great thing, like, just to have that outlet and get that, sorted soon. Because we were talking to Lexi about, learning how to manage in the weight room and learning how to like overcome injuries and do all these different things, and how, so you mentioned the same thing. It's cool that all of you guys, I mean, I look at you guys like you're so young, but you guys are like, you're women now, and you're so mature. And so hearing both of you guys say, my life is more than just volleyball, especially coming from two girls who I've known have like dedicated so much to the sport. I think it's really special seeing, like, I don't know, it's just weird, like seeing you guys grow up through the sport and seeing how mature you guys have gotten, how much you've grown over the years. It's really a special thing. I mean, I can't wait to watch you guys play this season. It's I feel older and older. It's just weird, but yeah, I'm proud of you and what you've done. And I'm not a Trojan fan, obviously, but I'm always rooting for you and Meg, like my little sisters. It's exciting. What are you looking forward to most this season?
What am I looking forward most? I think just having a new group to like experience. Like some of my favorite memories don't even have anything to do with volleyball. Like it's the travel and it's the hotels and stuff like that, which is just so funny. And we have such a funny group this year that I think that's going to be a blast. But also just like my biggest goal this year is just like being adaptable, just being ready to kind of be thrown in wherever right now, just as we're trying to figure out kind of all those puzzle pieces. So I'm really excited just to see, like, we've been working absurdly hard, like, in the weight room and conditioning. Like, our conditioning tests this year compared to all years previous have been way harder. We have a new weight coach, and she's phenomenal. Her name's Madison. Like, she's changed everyone's games, but people are, like, going to their brink right now, and it's so cool seeing people, like, get there. And you're like, I know, like, I was talking to Olivia about this. Like, we do a beep test, and, like, we both PR'd yesterday or 2 days ago, and we were like, if we would have told like freshman year us that we would have done that, we would have laughed in our face, because we're like, it's just crazy to see how far you can push yourself, and I think I'm just excited to see all of that work be put into place into competition, because I think not that people are counting us out, but I think we graduated a ton of starters, and so it's this question mark of what is SC going to be. And I have, like, full faith in this team, like, so much. I think, like, not only are these girls, like, special humans, but I think they're just, like, absolute phenomenal volleyball players. So I'm really excited. I'm just excited to see everything finally go, because I feel like it's been the longest preseason ever.
SC's got a little edge this year.
I know. I'm excited. It's going to be really fun.
Because usually you guys are coming in, it's like, well,
I was
don't know how they could
gonna
lose.
say,
And this year it's like, well, you lost a lot. UCLA is bringing everyone back. And so now I feel like SC, this is one of the first times where people are looking at like, oh, SC's minor underdog. Which is probably kind of fun.
It's going to be really fun. And I'm super excited. I think just everyone on the team right now has just the right mindset. So I'm excited to see it all be implemented. And I mean, it's just cool seeing everyone work so hard. And I think all those girls that are coming in are very aware that, we lost a lot of people, but also I think we're taking it more as like, this is what they left. Like, those girls left the jersey they wore way better than they found it, and like, it's waiting for you now. And like, I feel like, I mean, we are going to put a lot of trust in freshmen this year. Obviously, we need a lot of new girls, so it's gonna be really fun. I'm excited.
Well, watching you play, I really enjoy it, because you, like, we're speaking of mentality, I mean, you look like you're a mental fortress. Like, you play with so much swagger. I remember watching you and Meg in Thailand. I think I was watching with Tim Brewster. We were playing somewhere, and we were watching the stream. I was like, she has so much swagger.
Thank you. That's funny.
Where did you develop that? Because it's like you and Meg are so different, both in your personalities and probably leadership style and playing style. Like you're like this swaggering player, like so much confidence. Then Megan's just like this sweet, like, I'll block you 6 times.
Meg, like, I'll shrink a ball and Meg will apologize. Literally, no.
Literally.
So funny. I don't know. I think I've always realized, like, if I used to let myself get really mad when I'd make errors or I'd do things, and then I just would see it snowball. And then I realized at a point, I was like, I can't keep doing this. I'm just not going to be successful with this. I just always felt like mentality is what wins and loses games. And I felt like that was something I really tried to do last year, was just stay steady as much as I could. I realized how much, like, if you show your emotion, it's so visible to the team you're playing. And that's something I've always tried to catch on teams that I play. Like, if it's visible, if you ace someone and how they react to it is kind of how you see a bit of how they're feeling inside. And, like, if I see someone get really mad, like, I know they're frazzled, and you can pick on them. So I've always felt like, obviously, playing with two great players, playing with Meg and playing with Julia, like, I'm going to be target, and I knew that going into every game. And I was okay with that, because I was like, as long as I, like, show the other team that I'm not upset or I'm not frazzled or that they're not getting in my head, because sometimes they absolutely would be. And, like, I would be freaking out. But as long as I didn't show it, I knew that they didn't know that. And so that's always tried to keep everything inside, and then I can let it out after the game and I can reassess. But as long as like the other team doesn't know whatever's going on in my head, then I'm going to be just fine. Like I feel like Meg's like one of the best people I see at it. Like you never know what's going on in Meg's mind. Like you never know if she's frazzled, if she's feeling like any emotion. You don't know when she's playing, and I think that's why one of the huge components of how good she is because you can't pick on her really because she just stays steady. So that's something I've always worked on.
Yeah, that's amazing that you have that kind of self-awareness at, 20 years old?
20.
That's a skill that's going to be paying dividends for a long time to come, Delaney.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And that's where, circling back to the multi-sport background, I think golf taught me the most of any sport I've ever played, just because you play for 4.5 hours, but you're playing golf for 3 minutes.
Totally.
The rest of the time you're walking in your head.
Yeah.
And I remember I snapped a club or threw it, and I was without it. My dad on the next hole, wherever I hit my drive, he just picked it up and put it exactly where I would have needed that club. He was like, it's not going to help much when you're getting super angry out there. And so just managing your emotions is so important
Totally.
on the court. And that's awesome that you've learned that.
Thank you. Sometimes, I'm not perfect all the time with that. Sometimes it's so easy to do it, and I have totally done it. But I think that's just something I always try and relate back to, especially like if I'm not playing well. I'm like, okay, just get back to like you for a second. Like I have to be laughing. I have to be talking about non-volleyball stuff like 2 minutes before game time. Because if I do talk about the game and stuff, I'm going to start, going down a spiral. So like Julia would always crack up because she's like, I don't want to talk about what you ate today. Like we have games. So it's always so funny figuring out like people's mindset and what they need and everything.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
Yeah.
What was it like for you coming in as a freshman? Because we talked about how successful you were as a high school powerhouse. Wave is really good. You and Meg won world champs. Although that you were already at USC by then, but you had come in as kind of the big dog on campus, so to speak, and then you come in at SC, and it's like, holy cow, there's a lot of incredible players.
Yeah.
I'm interested what that was like for you. Did you come in knowing that we're gonna have to humble myself down a couple of notches?
Oh, absolutely. I think coming in, I knew just from girls previous that have talked to me, it's like whatever you did in high school, it really doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like the first day you step on that court in college, like everything you've done in the past doesn't matter in terms of like how people see you. It's more just like all of that stuff in high school is just to make you better. And I felt like when I stepped on that court in college, like everyone's equal at that point. Like the coaches aren't going to play you because you won a tournament your junior year. Like the coaches are going to play you because of how you played in practice coming up to those tournaments. So I think I had to catch on to that really early, but I also was very nervous going into freshman year. Like I knew I was coming in with phenomenal athletes, and I was very nervous. Like I went in not knowing if I was going to be playing or not. Like I was very open-minded to just like put me with whoever and I'll do my best to like give you a win. And so like going in and then ending up being put with a fifth year, I was very, very nervous, especially not really knowing Joy. I only known her for about 2 months at that point. It was new of almost not only am I playing with someone that I'm just now meeting, but like playing with someone who's played in college for 4 years.
Yeah.
So it was very stressful, but I always just had to kind of relate back to like, okay, you've done the work, you've done the training, like just trust it. I think it was easy. Like my first game when I lost very badly, I just freaked out and I was like, oh, what are all these people? Like these people expect me to be winning all these games. People are like, there's so much expectations. And then you realize like everyone's opinions really don't matter at the end of the day. Like what people think about you as a player doesn't really matter. It's just kind of like you're doing you and like you're playing volleyball because you love it. And that's what I always had to relate back to because I think I got really caught up in the opinions and these expectations and you didn't really have that summer. So everyone's comparing me to what I did my summer of junior year when Meg and I had a really good summer. So it was a lot of stress in that realm. But then I'm also like, why should I care about what they think, But that's so much easier said than done.
Way easier said than done.
Yeah.
It's have you read the book The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck?
I've been wanting to read it, but I have never.
It's do you have it?
My mom, I have it at home. I know I have it. I've seen it, but I've never read it.
Because I have it, and if you want to borrow it, feel free.
I appreciate
it seems right up your alley.
Yeah,
I feel like every
I think
college student should read it, especially or any kind of athlete where if you win or lose, you'll hear it on Twitter or Instagram or wherever, and it's just like, well, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because people will get, fired up on whatever people say on Volley Talk.
Oh, yeah. I've never gone on that, ever.
I haven't been on in many years, but people will send me screenshots sometimes of like...
There's like terrible things said on there.
Terrible things. And like, can you believe they said this? And I was like, well, have you ever met this person? Like,
Yeah.
no. Like, do you even know their name? It's like, no, their screen name is Volleyball Lover 20.
Yeah.
I'm like, why would you care what Volleyball Lover 20 cares
Exactly.
about you?
I have known, like, anybody that's ever looked at it, you just go down a rabbit hole. I'm like, I will never open up that ever.
No.
Speaking of mental health tools, don't
Yeah.
go on Volleyball.
Don't
Absolutely.
go on volleyball.
Never go on
That will
volleyball.
not help your mental health.
No.
That's for sure.
Never, ever, ever.
Someone
So funny.
messaged me and was like, oh, Volley Talk has all kinds of great ideas for the podcast. I was like,
Nope.
listen, we stay in the Pride Land. We don't go with the hyenas, Simba.
That's so funny.
We're staying out here.
That's awesome.
Oh man, I love
So
it.
what's next for you? When's the first match for SC?
First match is February 25th, and I think we open up against Long Beach and GCU.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who do you think's going to be good this year in college? OC, UCLA.
Yeah, I
Pretty
think
solid.
everybody. Like,
Everybody.
this fall showed me, like, everybody is good
Yeah.
this year. I think, obviously, UCLA is going to be a great team. I think Stanford's going to be a great team. Berkeley got a lot of really good transfers. I think FSU is always going to be good. They're coached
Yeah.
very well. Obviously, TCU is going to be a great school. Honestly, like, this year, like, playing in fall tournaments, like, looking around and realizing there's so many schools I've never seen, and then you, like, see how they play, and you're like, these are great athletes.
Yeah.
I think this year is going to be really fun. I think it's, like, finally getting to that point where, like, it's so spread across the board that it's going to be a blast. Long Beach, I think, is going to be really good as well. They got some transfers,
Yeah.
and they have just really great returners, so it's going to be fun. I think there's going to be, like, it's going to be so even this year that I feel like it's going to be a dogfight all the time, which is going to be a blast.
It'll be fun to follow.
Yeah, absolutely.
Did you play in the tournament in Huntsville?
No, I did not.
Okay. Because I've been asked, I don't know if Jaden played it. We asked
I
Lexi
think
about
she
it because it was
did,
the
yeah.
first year they did that big Paris tournament, right? Who went from SC?
We had Ashlyn, Maddie White, Madison Shields, and Bailey Showalter.
Okay.
Yeah.
What did they say about it? I'm just,
They said it was definitely different. I think it was just a
Yeah.
weird experience for everybody because nobody had done it before.
yeah.
But I remember the weather was really bad. So
Okay.
I think a lot of people were just like, I think a lot of wins and losses happened for everybody. And then I think the weather got super weird. And then I don't really remember a lot of like their opinions on it, but I think it was cool seeing like a lot of schools sent a lot of different teams, but I think a lot like tons of those teams that went probably won't be like partnerships that'll end up being
Yeah.
in college. So I think that was just the interesting part is I know like
Yeah.
a lot of schools sent teams that won't necessarily play together.
Yeah.
So I don't know exactly how it works and translate to like coming up this season. I can't remember if it had if those points translate over. I can't remember.
Okay.
There's a
Interesting.
connection of something, but I can't
Okay.
remember.
Because it was the first year that they did it, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of experimental.
Yeah.
Probably figured out.
Yeah.
And the Gulf Shores is single limb?
Yes.
The whole all
the
throughout.
whole thing, starting at 16.
Oh
So
my
it's
gosh.
single limb from 16 to 8-4. Yeah, which is going to be I think it starts on a Friday. You play one Friday, 2 Saturday, 1 Sunday. And that's it.
Oh my gosh.
And then if you lose, you're done.
How crazy! I didn't know that it was going all
just
to
got
single
voted on.
limb.
Yeah. When I was talking to Jaden, she said that, which is wild.
It's going to be crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to raise the stakes so much.
Because, I mean, last year, just the first round being single limb was crazy enough.
Yeah.
Oh, that was
Why
very
is it not
UCLA
like
almost
you-
lost their
that
first
was one of the crazy
first
things
game.
I've
The
ever seen.
UCLA Stetson match was
yeah.
like, and Tim Brewster was about to faint.
Yeah,
Oh,
at the
literally.
airport.
Yeah.
That was
Timmy.
nuts. The single limb was crazy. And then knowing that that's going to be the same amount of pressure every single
Yeah.
game is going to be...
Do you like it?
I do. I think
Yeah.
I really like
She's
it
a mental
for-
fortress. Remember?
You are a
I
mental
think it's going to be
fortress.
fun this year because now that there is so many good teams, I think it's going to be crazy.
Yeah.
Because I think it's going to be inevitable. There's going to be a lot of upsets. I like it this year. I just think it's fun to play in that environment. Like
Yeah.
if you go into it with the right, mindset, I think we could do a lot of cool things this year. But it's also like I say that and then I don't know how I'll be when I get there. But I mean, it's always like you build everything up and then you step on the court and you're like, okay, it's just volleyball. So
Yeah.
it'll be interesting. I'm excited, but also it's going to be very nerve-wracking.
Yeah. It'll be
Yeah.
fun to follow.
I know. I'm excited very much.
Delaney Maple, thank you so much for coming to hang out with us.
Thank you for having
The
me.
ray
I'm
of
so
sunshine on
excited.
this rainy day.
No
Oh,
kidding.
stop. Thank you, guys. I had so much fun. Thank you for having me.
Well, where can people follow you at SC? Where can they follow you when you go start dominating AVPs again?
Instagram, USC always puts stuff up, Twitter, anywhere.
Yeah.
You'll find
Well, you
me
have
somewhere.
you have a different spelling of Delaney.
Yes, it's really weird. It's Delaynie. And then Maple. Like the bar.
Or the syrup.
Yep, or the syrup. Yeah. I'm going straight to donuts. I'm like, yeah.
Great chatting with you, Delaney. Good luck this year.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Shoots.
Yay. Woo. That was fun.